What is it like for you, truthfully, because you have put your heart and soul into this for years, and it really is only in the last few days that you find out if people like what you've done.
Yeah.
So it's like, but what has it been like? Because like I was at the screening last night, the packed audience laughing at so many things, me laughing at so many things, people clapping. Like, so what the hell is this all like for you?
It's surreal, and it's one of those things that you hope is the reaction, and knowing that something that we did with a lot of passion and a lot of pride resonates with people from all walks of life, and the stuff that doesn't, it actually draws curiosity to learn more about it, and being able to have people feel like finally I can see myself be a hero of something is something truly special.
So do you think, true or false, that the main reason people enjoy the movie is that you had fun with the Nintendo Power Glove and that aspect of the Nintendo Power Glove powers everything?
True. No, but the nostalgia of all those things that we grew up being and using them, because I never had a Nintendo glove like that.
Well, I didn't either.
But I had friends that did. And every time I wore it, I felt powerful. Because you're like, oh man, and what if I can create anything? And I'm like, we're here in the movie and we're building this. I'm like, why not? Because it's like, it was written that there was something like a shield. I'm like, how does that shield exist? Where does it deploy? I'm like, the Nintendo embrace, the glove, man. I have to do it.
What's funny is I was just messing with it outside this room. They have it here.
Yeah.
And I was about to lift it and the guy's like, oh, you need to put on white gloves. And I'm like, he's like, this is a real prop. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like they actually, you know what I mean? But people are going to see that and be, anyway. So one of the things about this film is originally it was going to be going straight to HBO Max. And then they decided to change it to being a theatrical release. And I am curious, when you got involved, had that decision been already made or were you involved in the whole, they changed it? Do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah, of course. No, when I came into the project, the mandate was at the time that everything goes to HBO Max, right? And but once we started, and I was like, you know, sure, I'll do the movie. Of course, a great opportunity. But I'm like, it can't be that the first time that we have a Latino superhero front and centered, not just a Latino playing a hero, but where he's a Latino, his family is Latino, and they're gonna be actually being heroes of their own stories for the first time. I was like, it cannot just live on streaming. Like, it has to go to the theaters. Like, the whole experience of watching these fantastical movies is to be amazed and in awe. And what about being able to see our culture represented differently? So we worked very, very hard to create to do this world building where the action sequences, the suit, the passion of the family, and the cultural aspects are presented in a way worthy of watching it, not only in the theater, but even on IMAX, and being able to see our communities that way. I think that we did an amazing job in bringing it to life on the concept development of it all, that at the end, you know, Warner Brothers decided that this movie has to go to theaters.
Well, one of the things is that, like, with this movie, no matter how much money you get, you're always against the wall with the budget,
Yeah.
right? So my thing is like, how the F would you pull this movie off, making it for 10 or 20 or 25 million and having it go to HBO? You know what I mean? Like, it would be impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't honestly know the logic and the politics behind it. What I do know is that we were able to be smart about how we handle our budget. That's why we went practical, and that's why we went to real locations. And oddly enough, that also makes it feel bigger and more immersed. Because even like the third act takes place in a real fortress that's 500 years old in Puerto Rico. That's not like a green screen set, you know? So being able to do that and see the magnificence of this building, how imposing it is, and being able to capture that and have fun with this adventure in it, it was a way for us to be able to stretch our budget in a way that kind of like delivers on it, I guess.
Well, yeah, but also I think the audience, and including myself, and I'm sure you, when you're seeing whole shots that are CGI, you're like, it's like a cartoon. Mm-hmm. Like when you have those practical locations and you're adding CGI elements, it feels so much better.
You enhance it. I think one of the stuff that we agreed upon is if we become so heavy dependent on the VFX, it will balloon. Like with inflation and the expectations, you have to have so much stuff done prior to it. And by doing it on real locations or using a practical suit, our VFX supervisor, Kelvin, he was like, it's better to enhance it because I already have the lighting reference. Everything is there. It's just enhance it, or it's just doing set extensions. And by doing it that way, it just felt like those are real. It's a real suit. It's not a gray suit. And also Majes Rubio creating this suit with all its intrinsities, but at the same time, creating a suit whose materials were done in a way that it could be flexible so that we can also do the stunts in real life. Like it wasn't a video game or mocap. It literally like stunts, a lot of cable work, all that stuff, so that it feels like it has weight, so that it feels like it's more tangible.
Listen, and that's one of the reasons it's one of the reasons I bought into the movie. So your movie is a little over 2 hours. I asked this of every director. How did it change in the editing room? Did you have like a longer cut? How did you end up with that running time?
Because they asked me to do a movie less than 2 hours.
Exactly, yeah.
100% less than 2 hours, and with credits, it bleeds into 2.7. My version wasn't that much longer. It was like 2 hours and 7 minutes.
Oh, so it's just a little bit.
It was just a little bit, but it's stuff that hurts, but you have to compromise.
Yeah, I understand. I see. What's interesting is as I've gotten older, I've learned the studio. I actually understand both sides of it, but also with Blu-rays, you can release things.
I hope so.
Right.
I hope we can, because there's a lot of really nice stuff that stayed out.
What was the last thing that you cut before you picture locked? Like the thing that really, you know what I mean? It was that close to being in the movie.
There was a really pretty scene that I guess that showed the family dynamic in front of Jenny. You know, like Jenny arrives and there's the chaos and then they go out and say, but in between those moments, there was a beautiful dynamic of the family and just Jenny witnessing and absorbing it all. And you can see on her amazing performance how much she longed for that experience. And it was a really pretty scene. And you can get this, if the family already had that chemistry, it was like a more festive chemistry. It was very nice. I miss that scene.
Yeah, again, hopefully Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So you get, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but there's a wide shot of the city, and maybe I saw a Lex Corp sign in the background. And so I wanted to know, when you put a Lex Corp sign in, is that something that you have to run up the flagpole to everybody? Like, how does that approval process work? And were there things you wanted to put in the background there that they're like, no? Yeah,
there's definitely things that we wanted to put in that they were like, no, because it might attach it to a different universe or something.
Sure.
Of course, we went hard with all the Easter eggs that we could. We wanted to have as much as we could. And when building the city, this cosmopolitan city that has all these neon lights and has all these like, holographic elements to it, we wanted to make it feel like it also belongs to the greater DC universe. And Lex Corp is Lex Corp in the same thing, Gotham Law School, like Gotham is Gotham. That will never disappear within the lore of the superheroes. So why not have our hero also exist in a world that is affected by all these other legacies?
Sure. I even think I saw the Daily Planet. There's a few things in there.
There's also a box of Oreos in the bug lair. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yes, there's all. We'll continue this once the movie is out to get into some more stuff.
Just a couple things, you know.
Right. One of the things, though, is this is your first time having this kind of budget to play with VFX and this kind of scale and scope. So, what did you learn that you maybe wish you knew on the first day? Because this is obviously a growing period for you as a filmmaker. You know, having these kinds of resources that you've never had before.
I was very lucky to have my heads of department have experience, and I trust them. You know, I think they're masters of what they do, and having them navigate me, having them help me navigate those waters from pre-production allowed that for me to not be so much of a clash of understanding. I was able to really focus on the things that I care the most, which is character and emotionality. And you don't need VFX for that. So as I was able to trust them on this, and the same way that they trusted me, and they made it very easy for me to navigate that. But if there's something else that now that I know more that I could do later, is understanding where you want your energy to be focused on right off the bat in order for things to work out easier. Because there's always going to be challenges, right? There's always the whole job is about dealing with obstacles. But I think a lot of those obstacles can be addressed beforehand on pre-production and avoided so that it can be a smoother sailing. It's always going to be bumpy, but it can always, you can get better tires if you know the road is going to be bumpy, you know?
There are some jokes in the movie that I mentioned this to you last night, that I was very surprised. I'm not going to spoil anything, that I was very surprised you were able to put in this movie. So I really want to know, how did you pull off some of the jokes that the audience is going to see that are surprising jokes in a superhero movie, this kind of film?
Well, some of those jokes were actually taken out of the comic itself. It might be just one frame of the comic, but there is jokes that we took from it. And there's also jokes that I guess the cultural differences might benefit the existence of it. If that makes sense.
No, it does. It's one of these things where I can't be specific because everyone watching this will have not seen the movie yet. But I'm just going to say that you're going to laugh a lot.
Yes, you're going to laugh a lot. You're going to laugh a lot. And a lot of it came just authentic. A lot of the stuff also came on the day. We made it a habit that, you know, we shoot the script. And once I feel that I get it, I always give them one last run. And we call it a funsy. And they say, okay, funsy. And everybody knows, like, this is the time that we can be obscene, that we can be funny, that we can be whatever. And a lot of those moments came from the funsy takes. So I think, like, because if it's not forced, nobody's trying to pull a joke, it comes authentic to the characters and the situation that makes it relatable because they're free. The characters are free to do it themselves within the boundaries of their characters. So it just helps to have also talented people. It just helps.
This might be my last question. I'm almost out of time. What did you actually want to include from your own experiences and the environments that you grew up in that were really important to you to put in this movie? Because this movie means an awful lot to a lot of people. Yeah,
I mean, I wanted this film because it is the first time you see a character that is Latino on the paper, that his families are Latino. I really wanted to ground it on the experiences that form a lot of us, right? Like, oftentimes in a lot of movies, our stories are told like in the middle of the sentence or in the middle of the paragraph, like, boom, gangster, boom, You came out of prison. Boom, like, we never have a chance to tell a history of where we come from and the stuff that really does affect us. So how can we introduce this character? Because this is what this movie is. It's like a first act of a potential saga that we want to create for the Blue Beetle journey. And one of the things that we wanted to do, first of all, was hire Mexican actors, not just Mexican Americans, but also go to Mexico and get like the best stars from Mexico for this movie, like Damián Alcázar or Adriana Barraza. And they bring their own authentic experiences to the movie. And that helps a lot to inform the conditions we want to put the Reyes family in. We want the Reyes family to live in a world that affects their environment, that affects their decisions. Like, for example, in my case, from Puerto Rico, displacement, colonialism, gentrification. Those are things that are real threats. Home insecurity, not putting food on the table, proper healthcare. All those things that are villains, but at the same time, what are all those things that are heroic things, like community, like standing up against a tyrant or standing up against the things that weaken us, but doing it through the power of family and community. So by being able to hone in to those experiences that I know firsthand, that the writer also knows firsthand, because Gareth is from Querétaro, Mexico, we were able to find where our different journeys intersect in a similarity of experiences that not only affect our individual countries, but also affects countries in Latin America and abroad.
On that note, I have to go. They're going to pull me out of the seat. So I'm just going to say, man, listen, congrats. I'm really happy for you.
Man, I appreciate you so much.
I hope it's a huge hit.
I appreciate you so much, man.